morning, everybody, and welcome to From Boxes to Butterflies. And today it's going to be a fun conversation. I already got to talk with my guest a little bit, and we're just laughing, and it's fun and an important topic. So this today's show is going to be filled with information. It's going to be a blast. I already know that. As usual, I want to start off with announcements, always beginning with check in on those around you. You may know somebody who, even months ago, went through something, whether it was a medical issue, a family issue. They went through something that it was tough for them. You were there for them at the beginning, and then it seems like they're doing fine. Well, they may not be, because so many of us are really good at wearing a mask, at covering when we're just not quite there. Check in on them, make sure they're okay, and let them know you care. Because sometimes what makes a difference in a person's life, especially when they cover a lot and they're going through stuff, is to have somebody reach out and say, hey, I just wanted to check on you. Either it's like, I haven't seen you, you're not seeming quite like yourself, or I know you went through this a few months ago, you look like you're doing fine, but I just want to check in and make sure that you really are doing fine. Always an important thing to do with family, friends, your connections on LinkedIn. Check on them. When it comes to my sponsors, and I have my two fun sponsors, beginning with my dear sister, CJ, Dr. Constance Leland with Level Up Academy. I can go on and on about my dear sister. We do so much together, and she is the publicity queen, and now she has the tiara crown to go with it. If you've seen her shows lately, CJ has this ability to really see stuff. She has this ability to create opportunities for people. And that's why she is so good with the publicity aspect of things. She has not only with Level Up, she's able to do press releases. She has a magazine. She is connected with premium magazines. I mean, these are the ones that you have to pay for. And some of these, just to get 800 words, there's magazines that are up in the tens of thousands just to put in 800 words. She also knows how to get discounts and how to get them at a significant rate. She did it for me. I went ahead and had her talk with her. We worked something out earlier this year, back in March. And she ended up getting me into 5 different premium magazines around the world. So if you've got something that you are ready to announce, you've got a project that you need to get out there, you have this new service, you're opening your doors and you've got this special, you've got something to announce to the world, touch base with CJ, see what she's got, see how she can help you, because once you have that conversation, she'll be able to guide you in direction. Look at these industries. She can connect you with almost any industry that's out there. And she has the connections. She can do the press releases. There's a QR code. Scan that QR code. She is essentially on every continent. Well, everyone except for Antarctica. But, even with her podcast, we're still trying to find that penguin that's going to start listening to her podcast. Or if you know a scientist in Antarctica, CJ would really love it if you could tell them to listen to her podcast. So Level Up Academy, CJ, the latest book that CJ was the publisher on, the two of us, we do books 4 times a year. We're doing anthologies quarterly. And the last one, Rebel with a Cause. it was a very emotional project because we went in there with 20 authors, but we had lost one before it even started. And so our dear sister Jess was no longer here. She was so excited to be in. She is definitely a rebel. And we've dedicated the book to her. The the proceeds are going to mental health organizations. This is like first book is planting trees in Madagascar. The second book, planting trees in Honduras. This one goes to goes to mental health. Check it out. Check out the book because here's stories that you can look at, read. What does it mean to be a rebel? And what does it mean to move beyond wherever you were stuck and step out as yourself, that rebel that is got a cause and is going to do it. My other sponsor, the Hounds of Business Community, and Mike Ashebrainer. I mean, check these guys out. CJ is always talking about, and I talk about collaboration over competition. Work with people. I mean, how much energy do you save when you collaborate and you work with somebody that you really connect with and you feel comfortable working with, as opposed to seeing them as the competition? You could be doing the same thing, but you're not doing the same thing. You have different clients, you have different focus. So be sure to look at the Hounds of Business because that's what they do. They focus on the collaboration over competition. You're going to find many different people in there. Some of them may do the same thing as you, but they don't. Their customers are going to be different. People are going to connect with them differently than they're going to connect with you. There's over 8 billion people on this planet. You can't service all of them. But if you can connect with others that are doing something similar, or they're doing something that you guys just mesh, what you're doing works so well together, creates opportunities, collaboration over competition. Check out the Hounds of Business. They're on LinkedIn. Just type in Hounds of Business Community. Connect with Mike Ashebrainer. Ask him questions. See what it's all about. Check out the Hounds. And really take that to heart. Competition over collaboration. I bring up this organization, Confronting Domestic Violence. This event happened on Sunday. CJ was there. I wish I could have gone. It would have been a blast. I saw how much fun it was, but how important it is too. This is the organization that proceeds from our next anthology are going to go to. So what we're making on sales, this is where we're going to send the money. We're going to help them because this is such an important cause. Just look at those stats. It's so many of us will think domestic violence, women. Look at that. 1 in 9 men experience severe violence. So this is not just women, if you want to look at it that way. It's everybody. Everybody's involved. Yes, the stats are different. It's definitely weighed more towards us, but it's everybody's involved. And it's time for it to stop. And so many people, they feel like they're stuck. Having organizations like this who step in and are finding ways to help in real time. And that's the key about them too. They want to get in and help people to get out of those situations in real time, but it takes money. So that's what the whole gala was about. And the whole thing is saving lives. And before I bring up my guest, I want to talk briefly about our next anthology because it closes Thursday night. The doors close to be an author in Against the Grain, Finding Belonging in a World of Resistance. CJ and I are at it again. We have amazing authors who are already signed up to join us. It's going to be so much fun. And it's such an important topic. I talk belonging all the time. The importance of moving beyond boxes, moving from a place where you're trying to fit in. And if you're trying to fit in, you are not belonging, to moving out of that box, moving beyond that place, taking those first steps to be your authentic self and go someplace where you belong. I wrote about it in Rebel with a Cause, and I'm going to have fun with this one too. It's going to be fun what I'm percolating to write on this, because this is such an important topic. It's an important topic in our daily lives. It's an important topic in the workspace. Belonging. Stop wearing the masks so you can fully engage people. You can stop wasting your energy trying to hide yourself. So this will be our 4th anthology this year. We never guarantee that we're going to have #1 international bestsellers. Although the first 3, it worked out that way. And it's been so much fun doing these anthologies, working with my dear sister. And it's going to be the kind of book coming up that it's going to speak to so many people. And I know that it's going to help many to realize they're in a place where they don't belong, where they're trying to fit in. When you read the stories of all these different authors, to what it means to find that space that they belong. But now I'm going to bring up my guest, who was an author in Rebel with a Cause as well. Lisa.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm not quite like CJ going, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" No, it's like, here you go.
Yeah, she just has way too much energy. But that's CJ. I love her.
That's CJ, and I think it's rubbing off. But anyway,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I just kind of want to step back a little bit to Rebel with a Cause, because in many ways it goes into everything that we're going to talk about anyway.
Yeah.
It was your story. You are a rebel, and I kind of want you to talk about what your experience was like working with us on that book.
Yeah, sure. So I always wanted to write. I always had this dream of being an author, but never thought that I could, or that my story was important enough to be shared. So when I got the opportunity with you all, at first I said no, because it's like, okay, no, I have nothing to say that people want to hear. And then I heard CJ say, take the opportunity when it comes and it lands in your lap, is the universe telling you something. So I wrote her and said, okay, well, I'm not sure if I'll be qualified, but your words moved me enough to join. And luckily, she chose me as one of the authors, and it has changed my life, because it's reaffirmed my purpose, but it also showed me that I do have a story. I never considered myself a rebel in the traditional sense, but my friend Michelle Ramos, said that it's the quiet work you do behind the scenes to help others that makes you a rebel. I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I guess I am. So it's been wonderful. Working with you all has been amazing. The feedback, um, you all helped me with the direction I was supposed to go in, with the title. I've been in other anthologies now that it's been a different experience, but definitely the anthologies that came out of LinkedIn, because I'm in another one, it's been a great experience, and I just love you all.
Oh, and I loved working with you on this, because I got to work with you on yours,
Yeah.
and that's what CJ and I do. We kind of divide everybody up so that you only have to deal with one editor.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's so important that we make sure your voice is what is the final that
Yes,
comes out of
yes.
it. We will give you ideas, we'll give you suggestions. We we know we know soft ways and a little bit harder ways to say, I
Yeah,
think you need to tone something down, because
yeah,
I've had some who they told me everything. It's like, okay, this fire hose needs to be turned off. We need to tone it
yeah.
down a
Back it
little.
up a little bit.
That
Yeah,
wasn't the case with you, but having that, it's just being able to work with everybody so that their best voice comes out. And so many come in going, I can't write. I'll never
oh yeah,
get
that was me. That
100
was me.
words.
Yeah, I couldn't really like so many words. I can't say it. Yeah, that was totally me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I'll never get 1,500 words.
Yeah.
And then when we get that first draft, they're at like 4,000 words. Is this okay to be over? No, no, we have a limit.
Yeah, yeah.
You cut it. I'm not going to edit it down. You cut it and then give it back to me.
Yeah, I think the great thing about y'all is that you create a safe space where we get to explore those things. We even had meetings where we, read each other's stories and learn from each other. And then when I read the final product, it's like, wow, I know these names from LinkedIn. We've been in audio rooms, but to read their stories, like, okay, I get why you do what you do now. I get you. And
Yeah.
it was a beautiful book. It was really a beautiful book. And if people haven't gotten it yet, you all are missing out. And I'm not just saying that because I'm one of the authors, you all are really missing out. It's a beautiful book.
And we like to make sure that they're all connected. So in this
Yeah.
case, the first one was Move Beyond Boxes, Beyond Boundaries, Thriving
Mhm.
in Life's Gray Zone. Then the second
Yeah.
one was Moving Beyond Boxes, The Journey to Self-Discovery, which was like a prequel. And
Yeah.
then we had Rebel with a Cause, and now it's Against the Grain, Finding Belonging in a World of Resistance. And we're all in this world of resistance. How can you be your authentic self
Exactly.
if you're afraid to do it because of what the world says or what you've heard other people say or whatever, or your own fear, your
Yes.
own your own introvertedness, your own imposter syndrome, whatever. So to put
Yeah.
that aside now, let's get to the fun stuff. Well, I mean,
The
that is
fun stuff of menopause.
the fun stuff of menopause. It's like I want to know a little bit more about just how you got to this point, and then because that story itself is what leads us into this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you look at my profile, you'll see that I started off as an electrical engineer. And I had no inkling of being in anything to do with healthcare. I was happy being an engineer. But I had to have two surgeries on my spine, and I retired medically unfit from that field. And I was really left lost as to what the heck do I do now? And of course, you talked about that imposter syndrome and all those negative thoughts. I had all of that while dealing with healing, while dealing with being on medication. And I started to gain weight because I was depressed. And luckily, I have to thank my doctor because doctors aren't usually known for sending you to dietitians. But he sent me to a dietitian, but she just gave me a sheet of paper and said, come back in 3 months. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. But it put me on a path, and the universe sort of led me to realizing I needed to do this for myself. I needed to change careers. This is what I was meant to do. So I eventually went back to university, got my degree, got my qualifications as being a dietitian. So I started helping myself. So it was really a selfish move to help myself. Then I started helping others, and I realized, okay, this is sort of what I wanted, but there was something that it just didn't click. But in my 30s, my dad passed from colon cancer. And again, I went back, that stress, that imposter syndrome, that depression. And I started having these weird symptoms of random toothaches, and you go to the dentist and it's like, okay, nothing is wrong with you. Hair falling out, heart palpitations. You do the checks with the cardiologist, nothing is wrong with you. And it just kept symptom after symptom. And you do the blood test, nothing is wrong with you. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Am I losing my mind? And I had to go back, being a dietitian, go back into that research and figure it out myself. And I realized, oh shit, I am actually in perimenopause. And all these symptoms just lined up. I was like, well, why didn't anybody tell me this? And talking to other women, just going online, reading Facebook groups, all of those things, I realized, okay, other women are experiencing the same thing. If you don't start with hot flashes, if you're not in your 50s, they don't say menopause. And you're just left lost and wondering if I'm losing my mind and what can I do? No one's there to help me. And it's like, okay, then the pieces of my life sort of aligned and the light bulb went off. Okay, this is my calling. I have the information. I know what works for me. I have the research. Now it's time to support other women. So that is how I got into this space.
And it is so important. I kind of went back to because you had this conversation with CJ a few months ago, and I remember during that you were talking about symptoms that just seemed out of the blue, like what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And how CJ is going, I went through that, and I'm listening to the two of you. It's like, yeah, I know that one. I know that one. I know that one.
Yeah. Even when she talked about ADHD and it getting worse, I was like, yeah, that happens in menopause too. A lot of women never had a ADHD or never had diabetes, never had cholesterol issues. And all of a sudden, when they enter into that menopausal journey, it gets exacerbated. Or now they're diagnosed with it and they realize, what the heck? And nobody puts the pieces together. And that is the concerning part. I don't blame doctors. I blame the system because the system doesn't teach them menopause. It's something you have to specialize in. So it's really hard to diagnose someone and there are over 100 symptoms. So if you don't start with the hot flashes or you're at the wrong age, no one says menopause. And they just hand you pills to treat the symptoms, which that's the job of the doctor. You have symptoms that are debilitating, interfering with your quality of life. Here are the pills to manage that. But if you don't get the underlying cause, you're always going to come up with symptoms and different symptoms, and you're not treating the cause. And it's just this whirlwind of symptoms and medications, and it's not a good quality of life.
Well, and you've been focused on talking about this for a few years now, right?
Yeah, about 2 or 3 years, but I really started on LinkedIn probably a year now.
So because I just kind of want to go back. I want to make sure I don't miss Jay's question.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't even realize.
No, because I wanted you to get through your stuff, and then it's for me to remember where these questions are and make sure they come up, and so that we don't forget them. And so, Jay, it's like, are people more receptive to food awareness in relation to menopause since you started sharing information?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. If you're feeling like you're drowning in symptoms, you're willing to try anything. So I make a joke, if I tell you to go outside and eat the grass, you're going to go outside and eat the grass because you're just looking for relief. You're just looking to feel like I'm normal again. I get my life back. I feel normal in my body. So yes, I don't have issues with people like not willing to try new foods or go out of their comfort zone. And because every woman is different, the cultural backgrounds, the ethnicity, what you have access to, for me, it's not you have to eat this. I don't do diet sheets. As soon as you have a meeting with me, I tell you up front, I don't do diet sheets because they don't help. You put it on the fridge, you're hot and sweaty for the month, and it just gets lost with the other things that are on the fridge. It has to be about lifestyle change. It has to be about behavior change and building habits. And those take time. You got 40 plus years to build the habits you have now. It's going to take a few months to start to unravel those things. So I work with each individual on an individual basis. It doesn't matter what your story was before. You come to me with what you have now and where you are at now, whatever medications you're on, whatever other medical conditions you have, and we sort of start from scratch and find a program that works for you. Yes, the basis is always nutrition, physical activity, and mindset, because where your mind goes, your body follows. And what the more positive you are, you actually experience those symptoms less. And it's been proven in with studies that more positive you are, the way you experience medical conditions gets less and less debilitating. But because every woman is different, we always start from scratch and build a system that works for you.
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people, they forget that we're all unique. We're all different.
Yeah.
And even twins are different technically
Yes.
because
Yeah.
they're going to have different experiences. They're not, unless they're together all the time in the same body,
Exactly. Exactly.
it's going to be something. Um, so I love that part of it. And as you talk about, I mean, we talk about the food and things. Well, I want to go to a question that Danielle had asked me to
Sure.
ask.
Yeah.
And you kind of touched on it, is in kind of a, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
She's like, how do you know it's time? So, and it's like
Yeah.
body, mood, energy is, and I know it's going to be different for everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah. By the time you realize you've started your menopausal journey, you probably were in it at least a year before. And for a few reasons. One, there are over 100 symptoms. So what you start with, you may brush it off as something else. So joints pain or muscle pain. A lot of women say, well, I probably slept badly. I slept on my shoulder. That's why it's hurting now. A random bruising. I probably bounced my foot somewhere and I didn't remember. The earache, the toothaches. I probably have something, an infection somewhere, but I'll deal with it at another time. It's not really bothering me that much to go see the doctor now. And especially with women, and this is not to say that men don't experience menopause. All women will go through menopause. Once you're alive, all women go through menopause. Some men go through male menopause. So not all men will go through it, but some men do go through male menopause, which is called andropause. Again, it's because of those hormonal fluctuations. So the hormones in women will be different to the hormones in men, and what fluctuates will be different, but the symptoms are very similar. So men will also get the mood swings, digestive issues, very similar to what women go through. But a lot of times, and especially with women, we brush these things off and we push them aside because we're helping other people. We're busy with work. We're dealing with aging parents. We have our kids. We have our partner to take care of, and we put ourselves last. So all of these symptoms, unless it's like hot flashes that comes on really strong, and they can say, whoa, okay, something is wrong here. The brain fog that happens once in a while, the nausea or the diarrhea that happens once in a while, you don't connect the dots until all of these symptoms starts to build and compound each other. And then I'm like, okay, no, something is way off. I'm having way too many mood swings, way too much digestive issues. I'm always tired. I'm always in pain. But by that time, you've gone probably at least a year being in perimenopause. And a lot of times the women don't even realize something is wrong. It's their partner that has to tell them. So I have couples who come to me and it's like, okay, no, the husband was the one that recognized something was wrong and said to the woman, okay, I think we need to go to the doctor and get something checked because you're not acting like your normal self. And that's what makes this so difficult. But that's why I am on LinkedIn every day, probably need to be on LinkedIn less. I probably need to join a support group. But this is what drives me because the awareness needs to be there.
Well, and I love that part of it. There's part of your rebel right there, because
Yes, yes.
it's so often you're not supposed to talk about this. You walk
Right.
into the workplace, nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she's just sick again, or whatever. It's
Oh, I
like,
need time off again. Yeah, yeah,
but it's like it's a part of life. And
yeah.
what do they expect? But it's not like you can turn it off for for the day and then go home and deal with it.
Yeah, and what you said right there, it's a part of life. Many managers at work, and sometimes especially female managers, I know I went through menopause and I was fine. What's your problem? I dealt with it and I was able to function. What's your problem? A lot of times the male managers are the ones who are more empathetic and are curious and will, okay, how can I help? And the female managers, the ones who you think would be like, okay, I understand what you're going through. How can I support you? Be like, no, I did it. You need to just go do your work and not bother anybody. That's kind of disheartening. But again, the more we talk about it, the more we bring awareness, those things will change eventually.
Well, and I love that comment, because I will often talk about, like within belonging, or I'll see somebody make a post or make a comment on a show. It's like, it's this way. This worked for me, so, or this is how it was for me. And they're basically saying, if this was my experience, then this is the way it is for
Yes,
everybody.
yes,
And I try to make sure it's understood. This is why I talk about these boxes. And if you just take the mental health box and say everybody that's in that box is the same, well, that box includes autism, ADHD, OCD, bipolar,
yeah,
and combinations thereof. And
exactly.
you can't say that it's the same for each person, because their experience is also different. And our experience is the truth to us, because that's what we went through.
Yeah,
But it's not necessarily the truth for others. Some will align, but not everybody.
yeah.
It's
And
impossible.
that is always so strange to me because if we all look different, why would you think our experiences would be the same? Or why would you even think that what worked for you should work for me? I'm not you. So it doesn't make any sense. But
No.
yeah, that's what we get all the time and yeah, I feel you.
And I just have to wonder if, like, for some of these women growing up, or until they hit that point, they, in so many ways, how other women around you are dealing with it, and
Yeah.
you who's having a harder time during that time of the month versus somebody else.
Yeah.
Why would menopause be any different?
Yeah. And in some ways, it is different. So if you think puberty is challenging, multiply that by 1,000, and then you get menopause, right? So
Right.
if you had, and it's not even like standard where you could say, okay, I had a difficult time during puberty, so yeah, I'll have a difficult time during menopause. It doesn't line up like that either, or my mother experienced it this way, so I'll experience it this way. Nope, not at all. And
And
that's what makes it so interesting, but so challenging.
I get that, because how many are going to mom going, what was it like for you? And that becomes the ingrained, what to look for, what
Yes,
to
yes,
expect. And she says it was easy, and it's like, you lied to me. Or it was really
yeah,
hard. It's like, well, I didn't notice that.
yeah, yeah. I had the same thing. I remember, and we didn't even say menopause back then. So I remember my mom for like forgetting the stove on.
Hmm.
And we're like, well, why didn't you remember? Like you were just in the kitchen, and we thought, okay, maybe she's losing her marbles a little bit, I remember her having hot flashes, but that's about it. And I have like 40 other symptoms that she didn't talk about, but I look back and I'm like, oh shucks, we could have been more kind to her if we had understood what she was going through. We wouldn't
Right.
have made fun of her, or we could have double checked when she was doing stuff just to make sure. But we didn't have that word menopause back then. So now that we have it and now that we're talking about it, we involve our children in the conversation. We involve our partner in the conversation so they understand. Once they're able to talk, they will understand. Just put it in a way that they can understand the information, but involve them in the conversation so they know, okay, when mommy needs a timeout, mommy needs some, an hour to herself just to decompress and relax, we could give her that time because we understand why.
Well, now that I know my dear sister is here, um, so a question that had come up is somebody's trying to lose weight due to menopause.
Yeah.
What are some healthy snacks that they can have, they can look at?
Yeah. So when it comes to weight loss, that is always a challenge, no matter if you're going through menopause or not. And women tend to have, always have these sorts, can't fit into my dress anymore, I'm too fat to go out or anything like that. So I don't really approach it from that way. I tend to more focus on have a healthy lifestyle and the weight loss will come. If you're focusing on the weight loss, then you're setting yourself up to be more stressed, be more anxious, and then be more depressed, which is going to raise cortisol levels, which is not going to make you digest food properly, which means you're going to store more as fat. And there's a whole system that goes on there. Let's take a step back a little bit and what do I need to have a healthy lifestyle? And can I include the foods that I enjoy into that lifestyle? And the answer is yes. Does it make sense to sit and eat the whole cake in one go? No, that is not going to support our healthy lifestyle. But can I have a small piece of cake at the end of the day? Sure. Maybe we need to change the type of cake. Maybe we need to take off the icing. Maybe we need to have a smaller piece. Okay, so if you say, right, I see you saying no. Okay, so that's not a non-negotiable for you. Okay, no problem. Can you try a smaller piece? Can you take out the carbs from your lunch and put more vegetables so that you can enjoy your cake after? So there's always a way to work these things into your life where you're not going to feel deprived. You're not going to be all thinking, oh my God, I need the cake. I need the cake. Because once you're in that, you're going to
Right.
have the cake and then end up having too much of it, most likely. So let's work our daily diet to have the healthful foods, which are always more plant-based foods, your fruits, your vegetables, peas, beans, nuts, seeds, and whole grain foods. Let's focus on those. If you want to choose to eat meat, I suggest sticking to chicken or fish, and really chicken breast and fish that are high in omega-3s, because the one thing about menopause is as soon as you enter into that menopausal journey, your risk for heart disease goes up and it shoots up higher than a man's risk. So you don't want to include foods consistently that's going to raise your risk even further. So red meat raises your risk for heart disease, so you want to cut back on those as much as possible. But focus on your plant-based foods. And then, okay, what else do I want to include? I want to have snacks that may not sound healthy, but I also don't use the words healthy or unhealthy either, because that sets up very negative thoughts around food. And if I eat something that's unhealthy, I feel guilty and then I'm going to be depressed. And I try to take those words out of the conversation. What do you want to have? Okay, I enjoy a slice of cake and I want the icing. Okay, when do you want to have it? I want to have it for my afternoon snack. Okay, so can we remove the potatoes or the rice from the lunch to accommodate the extra calories that's going to come from the cake? And maybe even before you have the cake, have a small salad so that it slows down the breakdown of the sugar so we don't store all the sugars and it releases into the bloodstream more slowly. Right? So there are ways to work it into a system. And I'm seeing Dr. C's comments. I'm ignoring you, girl. I know you don't feel guilty about anything. Right? But a lot of women feel guilty because they're craving these things. Menopause will make you crave these things. So instead of denying yourself these things and always thinking about it and raising the stress levels, let's find a way to work it into your diet so that you get what you need from those comfort foods, but you're still predominantly eating those helpful foods that's going to help with your weight loss.
Yeah, I know for me, and you talk plant-based. Oh, like I was telling you before, my family's Midwest,
Yeah,
and fruit was not exactly a high ticket item that I saw a lot of.
yeah,
And vegetables, well, vegetables only counted as peas and carrots and corn. Those were
yeah,
vegetables. Potatoes, that was a staple, especially meat and potatoes.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think about it as I I never had anything green until sometime in high school.
Yeah.
And broccoli, I still have some issues with broccoli, but I also because of the rat poison, I was like, I have to be careful about how much uh,
Right.
it's how much vitamin K I can take
Right. Yes. Yes.
because that counters the warfarin.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by working with persons on an individual basis. So your story is different to Dr. C's story. The medications you all are on are different. So I can't come with a diet sheet and say, here, that will not work. Right.
Right,
So being on things like warfarin, yes, you have to be mindful of how much vitamin K, and that means how many dark leafy greens you take on a daily basis. But it doesn't necessarily mean you can't have any. You just have
right,
to find ways to introduce them a little bit at a time into your system. Because dark green leafy vegetables are the most important vegetable you could eat. If you don't eat any others, you eat dark leafy green vegetables. But it doesn't mean I have to eat broccoli. It doesn't mean I have to eat kale. There are so many different green leafy vegetables you could find. But again, it comes back to what can I afford? What do I have access to? What is easily available to me? So again, we work that into your plan to figure out, okay, what do you have access to? What are you willing to try? Maybe
hmm,
not have it raw. If you've never had a vegetable, I wouldn't start you on raw vegetables because your system can't take that yet. Let's try them cooked. So what are you doing now? A potato pie. Let's try incorporating some vegetables into that potato pie. And slowly but surely, when we continue working together, people usually start eating vegetables on their own. They don't need to put it into the pie anymore. They can do it raw or steamed. And they actually start loving food because you can't, life is meant to be enjoyed. Food is meant to be enjoyed.
right.
Doesn't make sense eating a salad every day because I'm trying to do that weight loss and I'm not enjoying myself. That is not living. Let's find a way to include the foods that you need to help you on your journey. But let's find ways that makes it fun for you. So you enjoy being in the kitchen. You enjoy preparing a meal and being like, okay, I made this and I'm happy to make it. And I'm happy to eat it. I'm happy to give my children it. My children are also involved in the process. So my programs don't just involve the woman, it involves the whole family because I'm looking for ways to reduce her stress, give her the
Right.
foods that she needs, but also include the family on that journey as well.
Yeah, I saw CJ's comment about love fruits and veggies, and I do love fruits, and I will get them. What
Mhm.
I'm finding for me, I don't know about others, but I will get the fruits, So it's like, I've got some apples in the fridge. I got
Yeah.
some mandarin oranges in the fridge. But for some reason, I can't get myself to just take them, do the preparation, cut them up, whatever, and then eat them. It's like, if it's not, maybe it's society right now. If it's not just easy to get into
Yeah.
and start eating it, we'll take time to prep that
Mhm.
chicken meal or hamburgers or whatever.
Yeah.
But doing the veggies, doing the fruits,
Yeah.
it's almost like it has to be more instant than not. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to get my brain to
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
and it's like, just do it.
But that's not just you. That is a lot of people, especially if they're not accustomed. Remember your background. You're not accustomed seeing your parents do vegetables.
Right.
So you grew up with that mindset already. So to change that is a habit you have to change, which means it's not something that's going to be automatic. We have to find ways now. How can we include that into your lifestyle to make it easy, not be stressful, and you enjoy what you're doing? So that's what my programs are. So that's a great example that you gave there. Knowing where you started, okay, where we
Right.
want to end up, and
Hmm.
what's the easiest paths to get there.
Yeah. And I'm kind of thinking through that, and of course, there's the ADHD part. Uh,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, which is very valid. Yeah,
there's the ADHD part, and there's the fact that it's like a 6-decade history this way.
yeah.
But when I was in China, I would eat. Well, I was still picky in China. I was definitely picky in China. I could not eat the fish for anything. I
Mhm.
it's I like fish and chips where you can eat the fish and you're not having to think about bones,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
opposed to the river fish, and don't even look at the rivers, uh, and how it was just filled with bones.
And that's perfectly fine. Like you don't have to eat foods that you don't enjoy. And that's the beauty about food and having so many different varieties of food. You don't have to eat the ones that you don't like. So with going back to the dark leafy greens, I don't like broccoli or I can't eat broccoli. Just find something else in that color group that you enjoy. And the beauty about eating colors, and this is why I teach eat your colors. And there are 5 colors. So they're red and pink is the same group, yellow and orange is the same group, blue and purple, same group, green, and then you have white, brown, that sort of colors. The reason why we say eat colors is because foods in that color group have the same vitamins and minerals. So that's why we don't have to force children also if they don't like pumpkin or squash and they love carrots or they love the baby carrots. You don't have to force them to eat the pumpkin. Give them the baby carrots. They get the same nutrients. So you don't enjoy a particular type of fish and you prefer to eat something else. Okay, no problem. We work that into your system. If you went to China and you preferred the way they did vegetables, okay, let's find a place where you are now that does it the same way. Can we find a recipe that maybe you'll enjoy making because you're looking for that familiarity? So again, there are ways to work these things into our system, and we don't have to force ourselves to eat things we don't like. We don't have to do things that we don't enjoy because again, life is meant to be enjoyed. And when you
Right.
enter into menopause, things are already challenging as it is. We're not looking for more stress, right?
No, I'm looking at CJ's list here. It's like, okay, broccoli is I small pieces. Um, Normally it has to be mixed into something. I can eat it if it's mixed in,
And
but
that's fine.
otherwise I have to use water to get it down after about the first couple
Oh
pieces.
gosh, no. So then we work with that. Broccoli needs to be mixed into a meal. That's how you do it.
And then I don't know if I've had much for the squash. I do love spinach, just not the way they made it at school. Forget that cream, whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah,
I like the leaves. Bok choy. Now there's something I loved in China. I loved it, especially when it had kind of a buttery flavor to it, however they made it.
yeah, yeah.
Don't know what sayota is. Cucumber, I like cucumber, but I don't think it likes me. I'm not sure about those artichokes or the eggplants.
Yeah.
I tried the avocado. It just didn't quite. Beets, I love. I got to figure out how to do more beets, I feel. I think that's something I'm really missing. Brussels sprouts are out.
Right.
Cauliflower is out. Carrots, yes. And celery is, if it's really soft and hidden in something, I can do the celery.
So exactly what you said is exactly what clients will tell me, and that's where we start. That jump out to me. You love beets. Okay, let's find a way to make beets maybe twice a week. You prep enough beets so that you have beets because you said you enjoy beets. I saw Natasha. Hi, Natasha's talked about. Luckily, she has her husband prep her foods. So maybe your partner will be willing to prep those foods and make it easy for you where you just cook them. Or maybe you have older children who you can teach how to use knives safely to prep those vegetables so that all you have to do is take it and cook it. Or
Mhm.
maybe you live in an area where those vegetables are prepped already and you could buy those vegetables, prepackaged vegetables, and you just grab a pack of that and you make it. There's always a way to find a solution for those issues, especially when it comes to food. We just need to work with the client and find what works for that person.
Yeah, I see Natasha out on the pumpkin. It's like, oh, I love pumpkin because I will make a crustless pumpkin pie.
Wow.
And it's because I figure the crust is the worst part of it. And, and besides, I don't care about the crust. I love the pumpkin pie part. And
Yeah, okay.
if you just throw in a quarter cup of Bisquick into the mix for pie, it's like that solidifies it
It will
enough.
hold it. Yeah, yeah.
It's perfect.
Mhm. Just have to find what works for you. Some people like the crust. I don't use like worst or good or anything like that. If you love the crust, no problem. Can we work with a smaller piece? And again, put in those vegetables that's going to slow down the breakdown of those sugars. I'm just seeing lots of vegetables coming into the comments now.
Oh, they're all coming here. It's like CJ's got
Yeah,
the
I love
mushrooms.
it.
It's like the only way I was able to eat mushrooms is cream of mushroom soup.
So maybe there's a way to do it, do a healthier version that will work for you.
I do have some mushroom coffee though that I actually like, so I just have to drink it more. But I want to get before we run out of time
Yeah.
because I've had some people. No, we could just keep going and going. I love
Yes.
it. Um, to talk to talk briefly about what men go through because we
Yeah.
kind of hit on it,
Yeah.
and I know CJ wants to have a deeper conversation a later time with her based on you guys' show, but
Yeah.
it's that one thing that nobody really thinks about it much. And so just to be able to put something out there to get them thinking about it because they may think it's just a woman's thing,
Yeah.
but it's not.
Exactly.
It's a
Exactly.
human thing.
That's a great way to put it. It's a human thing. So I do an audio event every Tuesday discussing menopausal issues. So I have one later today at 5 p.m. Eastern. All are welcome. And a lot of times there are more men in the room than women, which I love because it means that they're open to learning about it. But November is Men's Health Month. So I'm really going to focus those audio events on discussing andropause and men's health. But
Perfect.
going back to answer the question, so all women will go through menopause. Some men will go through male menopause, which is called andropause. It is different to that midlife crisis that we may be more familiar with. Midlife crisis is a psychological thing where you look back at your life, and women get it too, it's not just men. You look back and you're like, okay, well, I didn't achieve all that I wanted to achieve. And um, then you start doing all the things that you wanted to do before. That is different to andropause, which is a medical issue because the hormones are dropping faster than it should be. The hormone for men is testosterone mainly. But again, the symptoms that women go through, very similar to what men will go through. So the mood swings, depression, anxiety, sometimes suicidal thoughts that both men and women will have because of menopause, not feeling heard, not feeling seen at work, the physical symptoms, so weight gain, losing the hair, um, joint pain, muscle pain. So more or less the same symptoms that women go through, men will go through if they're going through andropause. So again, it's to be compassionate and empathetic and listen to your partner. If you recognize something is wrong, let's go to the doctor. For men, it's easier to test for it because testosterone will drop gradually, whereas for women, the hormones will fluctuate. So sometimes they're very low and sometimes they're very high. So if you go on a day that is very high, it will come back as normal. And most women get that, and that's why they don't pick up the menopause. But for men, because it's dropping gradually, it's easier to pick up a change. So if you're noticing symptoms where you're depressed more than often, or you're anxious more than often, or you're noticing similar symptoms to menopause, first place to go is to a doctor, get those hormone levels checked. And there's something called hormone replacement therapy, which is medication. It's very safe medication. Of course, not all medication works for all people. So if you have certain types of breast cancers, you can't use hormone replacement therapy. If you have heart conditions, certain liver conditions, as with other medications, so hormone replacement therapy isn't different to other medications where, some people just can't use it. And that's why I use the holistic methods to work with those people. But for men, you go get it checked and see if there's a hormone replacement therapy treatment that can work for you. If you have a condition where you can't use medication, I see men as well. So you can certainly see someone like me who can work with the person. In the same way I work with women, I work with men. We go through the same thing and we find a solution that works for that person.
Yeah, it's amazing how similar it is, and yet so many want to view it differently.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely familiar with HRT because I'm almost 60, so and it does change. I mean, a lot of people they don't realize that, especially during some of these periods as well, with the hormones and stuff, that changes a lot of the body. Like at one point, I could have sworn I always had more of an oily skin, and suddenly it's dry.
Yeah.
And I've got some gals at Sephora I'm talking to, and it's like, I've never seen you be oily. I'm like, but I grew up that way.
Yeah. Or some women have the opposite experience where they never had acne, and when they enter into menopause, all of a sudden they're having acne like they're going through puberty. And again, this is why it's so difficult to diagnose, because every woman will come with a different story, a different list of symptoms, and you have to try and figure out what's going on. It's just it's interesting to say the least.
Yeah, there's so much, and I'm glad you've got the show that you've got every week. So
every other Tuesday, yeah.
Every other Tuesday. Okay,
Yeah,
every Tuesday. So yeah, it's just a few hours after me.
Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll put a link to that show in the comment section.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about how other people can support women in menopause, how your partner could support you, how people at work could support you. Because last show we talked about the treatments, we talked about HRT, we talked about alternative medications. And every week I produce a newsletter that comes out on a Wednesday around 8 a.m. Eastern, talking about the key takeaways from those shows. So you could always go back into my newsletters and look for a particular topic that relates to what you want to learn about. But today we're talking about, okay, how can the people around us, how can our support system really support someone going through menopause? What is the right things to ask, or the right things to say, or the right things to suggest, or maybe say nothing at all, you know? So again, everyone is welcome. If there are coaches that have information they use for their clients that they think will work, please come and join us.
Yeah, please. It's gonna be informative, because every time I see you, it's so informative. And it's like we've hit the hour mark, and we
It
can
always
just
flies so fast.
it just goes so fast.
Yeah.
And so much, so much fun, but so much important information going through this as well. I want to make sure that you get some time to just let everybody know how to find you. I know you talked about where your newsletter is, and you've got your show, but the ways to find you, and any last minute nuggets that you want to drop for someone to think about.
Sure. So you could always send me a message through direct message on LinkedIn, or if you go to my profile, there's a Calendly link where you can set up an appointment. It's a free consultation. So, and it's not just me talking about my program. Sometimes you need information on how to talk to your doctor, what questions to ask. So I really give you information in that free consultation on what your next step should be, so that you're not left lost, right? So you know exactly what should I do next on my menopausal journey. And yes, connect with me on LinkedIn. Could subscribe to the newsletter. The newsletter always has information that's not just for the menopausal woman, but for the people that she's surrounded by. So men, women, please feel free to subscribe. Join me on the audio events. And we're a part of a LinkedIn community. So let's really be a LinkedIn community and share with each other.
I love it. And it's been such a great show with you. I just want to keep going, but we all have things that we have to do.
Yeah. I have to prepare for my show too. So
Yeah, you've got
but
your
I
show. I've got other things. It's like,
I
and
really appreciate being here.
after that, I've got another show tonight I'm
Oh
supposed to do.
gosh, yes. I know you you and CJ always have shows. But I
Well,
just want to applaud you for the work that you do as well. You always celebrate some person in the show, and it's always informative, always fun. So keep doing what you're doing. Loving the wigs. I know CJ's, you want to put you onto it. Love you, CJ. Love you, Danielle. And the Hounds community. You all are just amazing people, you know, and please connect with each other. You won't regret it.
thank you so much. And for everybody else, I'll be back next week at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And next week, well, let's see, we have the time change happens this weekend for us.
Yes.
Oh, yep. Well, actually, I'll take the yippee on that one, because that's an extra hour of sleep, and I probably need that. Much better than that falling, or the spring forward. Like, no,
Yeah.
I want some sleep. So
Don't we all?
yeah, so get ready for the time change.
Yeah.
And for those who are going to be listening to Dynamic Village on Sunday, if you wake up and it's not on yet, you probably didn't change your clock.
Yeah.
But thanks for everybody to be here. And remember to, just the last plug of Against the Grain, the next anthology closes on Halloween, midnight, when the witches turn into pumpkins. So it's going to be an amazing book, and it will be out in time for Christmas, which
okay.
Yeah, it will
That'll be
be.
great.
We'll have the Kindle version will come out on the 6th of December, and then the following weekend is when the paperback is out.
Okay, great.
Then people can hoard their paperback versions to give as Christmas gifts.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're not part of the anthology, please join. I mean, I can say I was part of the last one and I loved it. Loved it. The ladies are great to work with. So come and
And
tell your story.
it was so much fun working with you too. I loved it. So thank you so
Okay.
much for being here, and thank you everybody else for joining us. And I will close
Thank
it up
you.
and see everybody next week.
Yeah. Take
Bye.
care, everybody. Bye.